The Tabletop TV program is for mature audiences only.
Look, D&D's a great game if you want to play god-killing, spell-slinging heroes who roll buckets of dice, but what if I want to tell a story about the little guys? In a world where magic is still mystical and I only ever have to touch 2 dice. Baby, Legend in the Mist has got you covered. Welcome back to As Seen on TV, the show that explains the show before it starts, where I explain a little bit about what's happening behind the screens of our players. Today we're going to talk about Legend in the Mist, the narrative-driven, rustic fantasy TTRPG that's coming up next on Tabletop TV. Legend in the Mist is a recently released and highly anticipated tabletop role-playing game published by Son of Oak Games Studio. It's a game absolutely dripping with gorgeous art and incredible rustic low fantasy vibes that aims to put endless narrative power in the hands of players. The rules you have to learn in order to play are few, but the applications of those rules are many. Speaking of rules, let's jump into how exactly this Legend in the Mist works during a session. The basic rules of Legend in the Mist are really simple. Whenever a player character wishes to attempt something risky or overcome a challenge, they will make a roll. Rolls in this game always use 2 6-sided dice, and after rolling them, you add the numbers together to get your result. A roll of 2 through 6 is a failure, a roll of 7 through 9 is a success, but with consequences, and a roll of 10 or higher is a complete and total success. These rolls are not completely unmodified, though, as often players will be attempting to add their tags to rolls. Tags are essentially like skills in this game if you're coming from a game like D&D. Tags are short phrases that represent something a PC is good at. For every tag a player has that applies to a roll, they can add +1 to the dice. So a player might have a tag called Strong as an Ox and ask the GM if they can add the tag to their roll while attempting to lift a cart above their head. And the GM will tell them that they can, because that tag seems applicable, and so that player will roll 2d6 plus 1. You can add as many relevant tags to a roll as you think apply. After a roll is concluded, you may sometimes be asked to count up how many tags were added to it in order to calculate that roll's power. So, if you succeed on a roll after adding 3 tags, that would be a success with 3 power. Power is sometimes used to determine the severity of success of the roll, be it how much damage your arrow does as it thuds into the shoulder of the bandit, or how wooed the person you're hitting on gets when you buy them a drink. Not all rolls require that players tally up power, but it will certainly come up during play. You may now be asking, how do players acquire tags like these? Here's the crazy part. At character creation, they write all of these tags themselves. With guidance from the GM and some creative writing prompts from the rulebook, players get to write 100% of their tags in this game, essentially making a character sheet into more of a group creative writing exercise. There are also things called statuses in this game, which are like temporary tags you can acquire from circumstance. If somebody punches you really hard in the shoulder, you may gain the Bruised 2 status, which would subtract 2 from any activities that being bruised would inhibit. On the flip side, perhaps you eat a really hearty and well-made meal, you may gain the Energized 3 status, which would add 3 to any rolls requiring a burst of energy. Statuses can range from levels 1 through 6. If a condition ever reaches level 5, it incapacitates you, and at level 6, it kills or transforms you radically. These statuses will be coming and going a lot over the course of the story, essentially acting as a health bar in some scenes or perhaps a temporary buff or boon in others. This game doesn't have classes like many other traditional RPGs, but it does have themes. At character creation, players will pick out 4 themes for their characters. These themes will be the broad ideas that make up who that character is, and players pick their 4 from the book. Themes can range from things like devotion, where one of your character's biggest motivators is their devotion to a person or goal. A theme could also be something like relic, where one of the most important things about your character is a big-ass magic sword they carry around with them. After picking 4 themes from the book, players write 3 tags associated with each theme. One tag serves as the name for that theme. So for example, a player who picks the devotion theme may name it Protect My Daughter. They will then write 2 other tags that are associated with this theme. To keep going with the previous example, this player may write "Good with Children" and "Watchful Eye" as their 2 tags related to "Protect My Daughter." Each theme also comes with 1 negative tag, a trait or flaw that actually subtracts from rolls when it's applicable. A negative flaw for "Protect My Daughter" could perhaps be stressed and overworked. These negative tags aren't all bad though, as whenever a player volunteers to add one to a roll, they get to mark improvement on the related theme, which is effectively like experience points they can use to level up later. There's no better teacher than failure, I guess. We are almost to the end of the need-to-know rules. However, there's one final thing about themes that comes up quite often during play, and that is the theme's might. Every theme falls into one of 3 categories of might: origin, adventure, and finally, greatness. Origin themes are abilities, skills, or drives that fall within a mundane possibility. Someone who has an origin theme called cooking is probably a really good chef, one of the best in their town. Adventure themes are themes that represent an incredible level of skill, drive, or competence. An adventure level theme may be called something like culinary expert, and a player with that theme would be one of the best cooks in the entire land. Finally, there are greatness themes, which represent themes that harbor an overwhelming amount of power, skill, or importance. To go with the cooking theme, the greatness level version would be called something like Master Cook of the Realm, and would allow you to whip up incredibly, earth-shatteringly good dishes strong enough to convince kings to turn into pacifists and call off wars. Whenever using tags from an origin theme to tackle an origin level problem, you roll normally. If you're using an adventure theme to tackle the same mundane problem, you roll with an additional +3. And if you're ever using a greatness theme to tackle that same mundane problem, you roll with a whopping +6 on top of whatever other tags you're using. However, challenges can also be at adventure or greatness level, which can subtract from a player roll if none of the tags they're using come from themes that match the might level of that challenge. For example, if a player's rolling against an adventure level theme, but they only have tags they're pulling from origin level themes, they would be rolling with a -3. God forbid a player only using tags from origin themes goes up against a greatness level challenge, then they would be rolling those dice with a whopping -6. You may be asking, why would all player characters not want to start with greatness themes? Those seem to be the most optimal from a practical standpoint. To that, I have 2 answers. First, the GM is encouraged to limit the number of greatness or adventure themes a party starts with if they want to play a rustic fantasy or epic journey style game, which I did for our main campaign. And second, picking out your themes really isn't about optimization in this game. It's about the story you want to tell with the character you're making. So, to recap, players make a character out of 4 themes. Each theme features 3 tags and 1 flaw. They can add tags when they apply to rolls and subtract flaws similarly. Each of these themes has a might level, ranging from origin to greatness, and you apply the highest might level you're pulling tags from to the roll you're about to make. After that, the character's basically completed. Players also get to add an item to their inventory, which works the same as other tags, except it's slightly more expendable and may go away after a certain number of uses or breakage. And finally, all the players create a couple of tags that the entire party can pull from, called fellowship tags. So if the party's main focus is a kill the king, for example, then some fellowship tags they might all be able to use could be called fight oppression or criminal contacts. After the fellowship is made and the characters are done, it's time to play the actual game. That's the end of all the rules you must know before you begin playing. It might seem like a lot, but in reality, it's all quite simple. You're rolling 2 6-sided dice, adding them up, and tacking on bonuses from all your relevant tags and might level. And then after that, you're off to the races. If you can wrap your head around that, then you're good to go and start playing Legend in the Mist. If you're watching this upon its release, then I have good news. We here at Tabletop TV have already put out the first 4 episodes of our Legend in the Mist arc, Valley of the Dreamer. So, if you liked what you heard about the system and want to hear what it sounds like in play, go give the episodes a listen. Thank you for tuning in to As Seen on TV. And if you have autoplay on, Coming up next will be an episode of the aforementioned campaign, Valley of the Dreamer. I hope you enjoy the show.